Knees and toes.
Does shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into a special edition of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Today, we welcome co-host of Outside the Box podcast, Kyle Bennett. Kyle, thanks for jumping on with us, and how's it going?
Super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. I've been a fan from afar. You guys crush it, so I'm thrilled to join the collective this week.
Appreciate it. We've had we had Brandon Hooten on last week. I know he's a part of some of the shows that you guys are doing. I think, are you a part of the college one that he's doing as well?
So it's under our umbrella, but
Okay.
he's running that 2-man weave with DJ. So
Okay.
yeah, brand new show there, but yeah, Hoots is the man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I think only one episode is out so far.
Yeah, they're recording the next episode. We're recording this on Monday. They're recording episode 2 tonight. So
Sweet. Looking forward to it. But what would be one word to describe the Philadelphia Wings season so far, 7 games in?
Oh, one word. Limiting me to one word is the difficult part about this. There's two that come to mind. One is disappointing, simply because this team on paper should be so much better than they actually are. And the other word is frustrating because, again, this team on paper should be better than what they actually are. They have the talent to be better than what they actually are. And the fact that they have one win through 7 games is incredibly frustrating. And I don't know what is causing the issues, but I can say I know what part of the game it is. It's the offense, and of all places, I'm stunned that is what is holding this team back.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to start. And Brendan O'Neill is the face of Philly lacrosse right now. Number 1 overall pick last year, finished 4th on the team with 58 points last year. This year, leading the team in goals, assists, points, on pace for 82-point season. Has the switch flipped for him yet, or do you think this is still Brendan O'Neill trying to get a feel for the indoor game?
I think there's a good combination. I think when you talk about a Brendan O'Neill, he is such a just like one of one type creature. Like he's such a specimen, whether it's the field game, the box game, it's going to come to him more naturally than it will the average lacrosse player. And anytime I get the opportunity to talk to Brennan, it's, he's such a sponge. Like no matter who he's around, whether it's, a Joe Resiteritz or, in the field game, whether he's talking to, Pat Cavanaugh, and you see it a lot too with his teammate in both disciplines with Dalton Young. Like they're very similar. He's always looking to learn and always looking to take in as much as he possibly can from whomever he's able to, and he wants to absorb it all. He wants to be the best. He wants to win, and I love that about Brennan. Like he is such an old school type of player where you see athletes nowadays where it's very like me, and it's all about the accolades. It's all about, wanting to get, the MVPs or, finish this high in this category. Brennan just wants to win. And when he doesn't win, it hurts him. It annoys him. And I love that about him. And it's so fascinating because I think, from afar, I'm always fascinated when people are watching from the outside of, the bubble of whether you're a Philadelphia Wings fan or a Denver Outlaws fan or what have you, and just watching Brennan play lacrosse and just seeing how naturally the game comes to him. And, I always joke that windup that he has, it's like Thor throwing his hammer. Like, good luck trying to stop that. And there's very few players in the National Lacrosse League in particular, just because of the confined space that is the box lacrosse game, that can stop a Brendan O'Neill shot. And, I think he's been a lot more selective this year of when and where he's, looking to shoot the ball. And I think it's helped him a lot. I think the frustrating part of it all is this offense right now. It's almost like living and dying through Brennan O'Neill. If Brennan is not, the guy taking over, which he's fully capable of being. Like, Brennan is in that category of someone who can take over a game. We saw it when he had that sock trick, and how you don't win that game against, the Black Bears is beyond me. But he's one of those type of players that if he gets going, your team more often than not is going to walk away with a win. And the fact that it's already clicking for him, not even 2 full seasons in the NLL and not even, 2 full seasons into his professional career, just shows you what the ceiling is for a player of Brennan O'Neill's caliber.
Joey Rezateris re-signed for another year in Philly. I'm sure he had other offers out there, but he comes back after a career year in Philly. While his numbers so far aren't what they were last year, what has Buffalo Joe brought to this lineup that goes beyond the stats this season?
Congrats to Joey Rez, 900 points, first American to do that ever, which is a wildly impressive stat. I love Joe. Being around him now, this is, the 4th season he's been in Philly. He is such a, he's just so, he reminds me of Yoda. He's so wise and just, willing to, share that knowledge with everyone that's around him. And that respect in the locker room is very evident amongst, players that are veterans, young guys, what have you. The respect for Joe Rezateris is second to none. And that's offensive guys, defensive guys, coaches, what have you. I think he is, an extension of the coaching staff out on that floor, and he's such a calming presence for a lot of these guys. The one thing I would love to see more from Joe this year is his scoring ability. He's a guy who can, put the ball in the back of the net, and through the first 7 games, it's been a tough go for Joe Rezateris, as a finisher. He's done a lot of distributing this year, which is, not a bad thing, but I think with where the Wings are right now, you want to see a guy like Joe Rezateris almost being the third option, behind somebody like Brennan, behind somebody like Eric Fennell, the way that he's come in, super hot as a free agent. It's something that, you almost want to turn to a veteran like Joe and be like, hey, we need you to just put the ball in the back of the net. Don't worry about distributing. We need to score points. But his leadership is so valuable, and to have a veteran like him back is great. And it's just a matter of execution now, and those guys taking the wisdom that, with Joe Rezateris, somebody like Blaze Reardon, Eric Fennell, even as a newcomer, I think commands a lot of respect in that room. And those guys kind of just being like, hey, we have the talent. Let's go out and showcase it.
Yeah, it's perfect transition because a signing that I admit we didn't talk enough about on our show, and I don't think the league as a whole talked enough about, was Eric Fennell. And although I did call him to go to Philly, so I'll give myself a pat on the back there, 11 goals already on the season. Now, it feels like he's fully back to full health, and he's added a bit of scoring touch to his game. How important is it not just to have a guy that can provide that secondary scoring, but be more of a lane setter for a guy like Brennan O'Neill?
He is incredible. I've always known about Eric Fennell's game from afar, obviously, a grizzled veteran, and I got a chance to sit down with him at Wings Media Day and have him on the show. And as soon as I heard him talk, I was like, this guy is awesome. Blue collar guy, chose Philadelphia, as the place to play. He has a lot of history with Joe Rezateris, a lot of history with this coaching staff. So he chose Philadelphia, and we all know free agency in the National Lacrosse League, number one, is one of the most confusing things, but number two, it takes a while for you to get there. So when you make that decision, you better, nail it. And I think for Eric Fennell's skill sets and where he is right now in his career, he picked a great spot for his offensive bag. And I don't know where this team would be without him right now. They're struggling to score as is. I don't know where this offense would be without what Eric Fennell brings to the table as a facilitator, as somebody who can score, as a pretty, powerful option, for this offense right now. And I think he's got a lot of really good chemistry with not only Brennan O'Neill, but it feels like he's having a lot of fun playing with Michael Sowers out there too. And that's really exciting to watch.
Yeah, another perfect transition. Although he's only played in 4 of the team's 7 games, Michael Sowers might be the most interesting player to watch across the entire league. He's one of the many new field players that is bringing that game in between the boards. Is he a guy that is being counted on to provide that scoring touch for this offense this season, that they really need him to be healthy in this lineup if they want to give other defenses a real fit this season?
It's so interesting because when Michael got activated this year from the PUP list, Adam Levy, I'm sure you guys are good pals with Adam, put out a fascinating stat that isn't necessarily a stat. I feel like it's more a coincidence. The Philadelphia Wings have never won a game with Michael Sowers in the lineup, which is just mind-numbingly stupid to think about, because you watch the games that Michael Sowers has been active for the Philadelphia Wings dating back to last season when he made his debut. The box game should not come as easy as it does for somebody like Michael Sowers. He is somebody who relies on his quick twitch, his agility, having, time and room for his hands to get free and letting his shots go. And let's be honest, his size in the National Lacrosse League is something that, concerned a lot of people and was something that you sit down and think, and you're like, is he ever going to suit up? He got drafted by the New England Black Wolves at the time, never suits up for Albany, ends up getting traded to the Wings, and now he gets to play for his hometown team. And over the years, I've gotten super close with Michael, and he's just an absolute treat. And the fact that, he never takes it for granted that he gets to suit up for his hometown team, gets to play, in an arena that he grew up going and watching, which if you watch Michael Sowers' game, models a lot of his game, whether it be field or box, around Allen Iverson. You watch him and it's like, holy crap, this is Allen Iverson with a lacrosse stick. And he gets to play on the same floor that Allen Iverson played on. He grew up going to Flyers games and grew up going to Wings games, so he never takes for granted the opportunity to suit up for the Wings. And the fact that they have never won with him in the lineup drives me crazy, because he puts in so much time, effort, and just the want to win. Again, very similar to Brennan O'Neill, wants to win. He desires that championship urge. And I think the Wings are relying on him to be a scoring option. And the past 3 games, it has been a head scratcher, because it's almost like with them relying on Michael Sowers, Sam LeClaire has become obsolete, and that shouldn't be the case when you have those two out on the floor. And yes, can they both do a lot of similar things? For sure. But Sam LeClaire has been held off the score sheet 3, maybe 4 straight games. That should not happen for a player of Sam LeClaire's caliber. And when you have Michael on the floor with him, it should almost make Sam's game that much more easy for him to kind of be the smaller guy who can crash the crease and be able to score the way that Sam does. But they need to find a way for those two to work together, because they're both too talented to not both be efficiently scoring at a high clip.
So this might be the first time you've heard this, and because there might be some Philly Wings listening to this because you're on it, I might be enemy number 1 in Philly, but one of my bold predictions before the season was that this team would average below 10 goals a game, and at the moment, they're 9.29. Where do you think they can have an adjustment, whether it be in-house in order to get that ball rolling, or do you think a move from somebody outside of the club could get this club back over the 10-goal mark and make me look dumb again, but get back into this race and make teams struggle stopping them on the offensive side?
It's such a fascinating thing, because you look at this offense, whether it's Blaze Reardon, Joe Restiterits, Phil Caputo is somebody who I think is wildly underused in this offense. Dalton Young, Sam LeClaire, Brennan O'Neill, Michael Sowers. This team has offensive talent. And the fact that they are not scoring at least 10 goals a game so far this year is mind-numbingly insane. after the Wings played the Seals in Philly, Ian Rubel told us post-game in the press conference, said, if we don't get to 12 goals, we're going to have ourselves a difficult night. Well, Coach, you're not even getting to 10 in most instances, so something's got to, figure itself out, and it's one of those things that I was almost intrigued to see how the offense was going to play after a bunch of the guys departed in free agency. When Mitch Jones left, and I love Mitch. He's been a longtime supporter of our show, and, having him in Philly was such a treat. But a lot of times, especially last year, it almost was like live by Mitch Jones, die by Mitch Jones. And if the ball died in his stick, the offense just completely, unfolded underneath of itself. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens when you start to integrate Brennan a little bit more, get Dalton Young involved a little more, get Michael Sowers involved a little bit more, and kind of just move the ball. And the offensive ball movement is just non-existent right now. And the way this offense is playing, they're just allowing opposing teams to capitalize on their mistakes, whether it be second, third, fourth chance opportunities where if the Wings don't score in their first, shot on goal, PK, the opponent just ends up with the ball. And it is a crazy approach that they have on offense right now, that the way the defense is playing, the way Nick Demude is playing, you're letting them down in so many ways. And that's what I try to tell people is this start this year is not on the defense. It is not on Nick Demude. They're playing out of their minds. And I said going into the year, this was the best defensive unit collectively that this Wings team has had since they returned in 2018, 2019. And I didn't think it was particularly close, and I still feel that way. I think Nick Demude is one of the most underappreciated goalies in the entire league. But when your offense is just taking one shot and you're not getting your rebounds and you're allowing the other team to just move and push the ball in transition, you're in for a long night. And this offense right now, they have to figure out what the solution is internally. I don't think right now, with where they're sitting towards the bottom of the table, that you can justify going out and getting somebody from outside of the club. You need somebody like Dalton Young to really step up, and I think he's a wildly talented player, and it was a big head scratcher that he's been out of the lineup up until last weekend for the past couple of games. His big body out there is much needed, around the crease. You need to get Phil Caputo more involved. Going back to that San Diego game in Philly again, there was multiple instances. Phil's just standing around, holding his stick up, calling for the ball, and nobody sees him. That's an on-the-floor issue with the guys that are out there. Your floor vision needs to be far better than what it is. And right now, if the Wings season is going to have any chance of turning around, it's got to be the guys on offense that are in the club, in that locker room right now, looking themselves in the mirror and being like, hey, we're the ones that got to fix this.
So I believe I saw that you also host a show called Streamer Season. Now, maybe talk a bit about what that show even is, and is there a specific movie or TV series or streaming series, however you want to phrase it now, that you're most excited for this season, either premiering or coming back this year?
Yeah, Streamer Season was one of our COVID babies. When there was no sports on, we were like, what do we talk about? And it even predated COVID. We did a fun thing where it was like, let's talk about TV and movies, and we dropped the podcast trailer at halftime of that year's Super Bowl on social media. Ton of fun. We talk movies, we talk TV shows. Initially, it was just on streaming platforms, and now movie theaters are so back. Go see the movies in theaters the way they're intended to be seen. Can't recommend it enough. I know it's a 2025 movie, but I just went and saw Marty Supreme in theaters. Unbelievable experience. Cannot recommend seeing that movie enough. A fun show that I just finished that came out this year. I know a lot of people have Marvel and MCU fatigue. Wonder Man is awesome. If you are like, if you need to just like have something that you don't need to know lore and, where does it connect and everything, and you just want a fun 8-episode, 30 to 35 minutes per episode, like full binge and just having fun watching something that connects to Marvel and connects to the MCU in a loose way, Wonder Man is super, super fun. There's a lot that I'm excited about, and 2026 is going to be like a big movie year, and there's so many movies that I'm just like, where do I even start? And I'm a huge Marvel fan. I don't know how Avengers Doomsday is going to go. It's either going to be full of doom or it's going to be really, really awesome. I'm excited for Spider-Man. There's a lot of movies in 2026 that are going to be really, really fun, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest movie years we've had in a long time.
All right, I'll jot down Wonder Man. That'll be on the queue. I'll try to convince my wife to do it. Let's flip back into the lacrosse here.
Yeah.
We'll flip to the defensive side of the ball. Mitch DeSnow. I was shoveling outside earlier. That's fine. Mitch DeSnow is traded there last year, and that was to try to help right the ship during their losing streak. This offseason, he gets moved to Buffalo, but the other guy that got moved with him re-signed there. And not only re-signed, but got the C stitched onto his jersey. How big was it for this team to be able to get Chris Corbeil back this offseason? Not just because of his field on the play, that he's like one of the leaders back there, obviously with the C, but his leadership on and off the turf.
Yeah. When he re-signed, I was genuinely shocked.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. One, it's rare that guys in the NLL, the way that, for lack of a better term, the politics of the NLL are, where, you have guys traveling from out of market, and if you're not close to that market, you typically try to go closer to market. See Mitch DeSnow. And I have no issues with everything that happened with Mitch. It was a bummer that, you couldn't have him in Philly, because he's a perfect Philadelphia player. But again, he needed to be closer for his 9-to-5 job, which, again, it's my one gripe with the tagline that the National Lacrosse League has, is the next major league, and we can't even get full replay, camera angle views, and we have guys that are still working 9-to-5 day jobs and, breaking their backs, doing typical 9-to-5 jobs Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday have to fly in and, play in a heavy impact physical sport like the NLL provides. And don't get me wrong, I love the NLL. It gave us a huge boost and a huge start for what we do as a podcast and as a company, but there's a lot of things that drive me crazy with the way the NLL is run currently. But Chris Corbeil could have gone anywhere. He's that talented. He could have gone, to Buffalo. He could have gone to Saskatchewan. He could have gone to Vegas. He could have gone to any of these places that were out, spending money in free agency. He could have gone to, Toronto. He could have gone to a number of places. Chose to come back to Philadelphia. Again, going back to Eric Fennell, chose Philadelphia in free agency. And the fact that he got the C, I still haven't been able to talk to anybody really about what that decision process was like, because
I was confused by it as well.
That was a huge shocker to me, and not necessarily in a bad way to Chris Corbeil. It's Blaze Reardon has been the captain since Kyle Matisse was traded away, and Blaze has made Philadelphia his home. Has been here. He's the last remaining member of that original Wings core. It's him and Ryan Wagner. Ryan Wagner was traded to the Wings from your Buffalo Bandits that first season. The Wings were back in that Chris Kluche trade, and those are the only guys from that original season left on this Wings team. And, there was a lot of, rumors being thrown around there. Blaze started the season injured. Was he going to play? The PLL season starting a month earlier. Was that a factor into potentially, a lot of things? But it's something that I'm trying to do some investigative reporting on, because it's rare that you strip the C from a guy who's still on the team.
Yeah.
Especially a guy who has done so much for not only, the team in general, but for the community that Blaze has done, with the city of Philadelphia. So there had to have been some sort of, decision there. And I am very curious. So if I do find anything out, I will report back. But I mean, I think on the flip side and on a positive note, it shows you the respect and the overall just, leadership that Corbeil provides. And I think he's one hell of a player. I've been a fan of his since I started covering the league in 18-19 when the Wings came back, and was like, holy hell, this guy is just unbelievable. I don't even know what he's listed at height-wise. Add 4 inches to it, because the dude is just a presence. He's stoic, and he defines like what a captain is on a team. And again, as soon as I saw that signing was when I declared, like, this is going to be the best Wings defense that we have ever seen. And I think he's kind of the guy that on that back end that stirs the drink defensively with Alex Pace, with Ryan Wagner, and, some of the young guys back there, Mitchell Armstrong having his first full season, healthy in the National Lacrosse League. You have a guy like Evan Messenger, who came back as well. You have guys on that defense, Isaiah Davis-Allen in transition. Like, Corbeil is the guy that kind of is the level-headed, he reminds me very much of like a middle linebacker on an NFL defense, where he would have, the green dot on his helmet calling out the plays. He's the quarterback of the defense. And I think a lot of guys on this team respect what he does, and he and Damude together are like a symbiotic relationship, and they've worked so well together. Again, I don't know where this defense would be without Chris Corbeil, so I'm thrilled he's back, and I think it shows how much respect he has in that room that he was given to see, even though Blaze was still on the team.
Yeah, a couple more vets that were scheduled to be UFAs this offseason, Liam Patton and Ryan Wagner that you mentioned, both came back to the squad as well. And in their last 3 games, and you touched on this already, they've given up 10.67 goals a game their last 3. That's below their league average right now of 12.28. I mean, having those veteran pieces back there, how much has that helped this back end and this team in general? And do you think that having all these core members that have returned helps this defense get sorted out the way they have been, at least the last 3 to go into Buffalo this coming weekend?
Yeah, Liam Patton, too, another member of the original Wings, but obviously had his spell in Panther City, was up with you guys, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, very briefly.
He's the ultimate, Philly guy. He's not afraid to throw punches. He's the type of, like, enforcer that this team has needed and has yearned for. They tried to make it work for so long. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. He plays in Rochester. Old man.
Ian Lord?
Yes. Ian Lord. God bless him. For 4 years, Ian Lord was like the enforcer on this defense, and it's like he's an old guy in terms of in terms of sports age, and you're still throwing him out there, and he's getting blown by so many guys. When Liam Patton came back, I was over the moon thrilled. He's the type of player that you love to root for, and he's the type of player that you hate when he's on another team. So I'm happy he's back. And he just provides such a physical presence. Like, he's not afraid to scrap it up. He's not afraid to, throw punches if he needs to. He's going to throw people up against the boards. So to have him on this defense is huge. And Ryan Wagner is just, I don't know if there's enough good things in just the English language to say about Ryan Wagner, not only as a player, but just as a person. He's just so kind. He's so just like even keeled. And I love Wags. Kind of the under the radar Philadelphia Wing for his entire career. Like I mentioned earlier, was part of that Kluche trade in 2018, 2019, and nobody really thought anything of it because it's like, why the hell are we trading the guy we just drafted number 2 overall? But Wags has just been the consummate pro, puts his head down, brings his lunch to work every day and goes to work. And he does a thankless job. He's on that defense. Nothing's really going to pop off on the stat sheet. He's not going out there to score goals. He's not really an enforcer type defenseman. But what he does is just such a calming presence on that defense. And every single week in and week out, when Ryan Wagner's out there, you know it. And when he's not out there, you feel his presence is missed, especially when he went down with injury last year. It was like, how is this team going to, survive without Ryan Wagner? To have both of them back this year has been just an absolute gift. And then, you add in the mix signing Pat Foley, who I think is another underappreciated, defenseman. That defensive core, man, they just bring it. And like I said, a bunch of them, it's just a thankless job that they go out there. They're performing way better than league average defensively. And again, like, they're going out there week in and week out and performing extremely well. It's now on the offense to, like, I feel like I tweet it once a game when I'm at the game's card. Like, the offense needs to reward the way the defense has been playing.
So it seemed like last year when Scott Dominy went down, that's when the team's struggles began. Is he truly that important of a piece back there that makes that engine go?
The eye test will say yes. Scott is he is just a treat. After the game, when the Seals were in town, he was part of the post-game press conference, and someone asked the question, like, what's your message to the fans? Which I hate that question. It's just so silly. Like, what do you want them to say? But Scott kind of, like, mic dropped it after he gave his, soliloquy, and he said, and you know what? Just keep booing the refs, and just walked off. And I was like, that is Scott Dominy. He's not afraid to hold back. He's somebody who wears his heart on his sleeve. And it is crazy that one player really was kind of the pin keeping everything together last year. It's crazy that the offense still hasn't really figured it out from that moment. He's almost the captain without wearing the C. The way that he's, like, utilized and treated, and his importance level on the floor, it's crazy to me how, like, wildly important he is to this team, and just, like, the way that they go. It's almost like, you take Scott Dominy out of the equation, and it's like back in the day when you had the time multiplication tests. You take Scott Dominy out of the offense, it's the equivalent of your pencil breaking during one of those tests. And I don't know why that's the case, and that's no, bashing to Scott. To me, in any sport, removing one player should not unravel your entire team the way that it has when Scott Dominy's not on the floor for the Philadelphia Wings.
So this one might take a bit, but it's the first time I've been able to talk to somebody from Philly, so maybe you can answer this question because it drives me nuts. The team took Nick Demude last year in the dispersal draft. They moved Zach Higgins in the trade to Ottawa. I've loved Demude's game dating back to his Panther City days when he led them into the playoffs. Last year, 12.74 goals against and a 78 save percentage. Good numbers. This year, they're better, 12.3 and 80 save percentage. Maybe this is a hot take, but I personally don't think it is. I have thought Demude has played really good the past 2 seasons, and I know you started the show saying the same thing, but I feel like the defense in front of him or the system, which I think it's leaning towards, is what's letting him down. Now, this team, this is what I'm asking you, over 60 shots a game they're allowing. That's 6 more shots than any other team. The next closest one. Last year, they combined to the 2 goalies to make 794 saves. The year before that, it was 796. The year before that, it was 814. It seems like it's a system issue. Do you think that this is by design, or do you think that something in their play style is allowing them to have those shot after shots because it's making these goalies face so many shots? And to me, it feels like by game 15, 16, 17, they're just wearing down by how many shots they have to face each game.
I think, and kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's almost a byproduct of the offense,
Okay. Yep.
where the offensive system, whoever, is shooting the ball, shoots, say they miss, or, it goes off the pipe, or it's off the goalie's chest. And I really caught on to this when the Nighthawks were in Philadelphia this year. A game that the Wings could have easily won. They got off to that hot start, and then things just unraveled. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And as I'm watching the game progress, nobody is around, like, anywhere close to the interior to be able to get a second chance opportunity, a third chance opportunity, fourth chance opportunity. And then I watch Rochester run down the floor. Connor Fields takes a shot. I love Connor Fields. He's one of the best players in the entire sport, field, box, what have you. Connor Fields takes a shot. Ball's loose. Thomas McConvey's there to pick it up. Thomas McConvey takes a shot. Ball's loose again. Ryan Smith is there. Why does the Wings offense not have anybody saying, I'm going to crash the net and be the guy to make the run towards the ball just in case it doesn't go into... It's almost like the offensive philosophy is we are like so guaranteeing that every shot we take is going to go in the back of the net. We're not worried about getting a rebound. We're not worried about getting that second chance offensive opportunity. In turn, you're allowing the opponent to get better transition runs. In turn, you're allowing the opponent to get their offense set up quicker. And in turn, your defense is getting gassed. And I joked, because I can make jokes like this, because he's gone now, the big bad scary man is gone. During that Seals game, I said, is Kevin Patullo calling the plays for the Philadelphia Wings offense now that he no longer is doing it for the Philadelphia Eagles? Because it's just such basic offensive like knowledge and knowing, hey, not every shot's going to go in the back of the net. Maybe I should crash the net and try to get my own rebound or fight to make an effort for it. Everyone just stands around. Where I watch the other teams that we have played so far, I watch teams when I'm watching on TV, just teams that have nothing to do with the Wings. Damn near every other team is making a collective effort to make sure, hey, if that ball's not in the back of the net, I'm crashing towards it, or I'm making it a nightmare for the opponent to go and get that ball. The offensive philosophy is shooting the defense and Nick Damute in the foot time and time again because they're like refusing to get those second chance opportunities, and then you're allowing your opponent to go get them. You're allowing your opponent to double you up in shots, and then that's giving them even more looks against your goalie. And newsflash, goalies can only stand on their heads for so long. You can't leave your goalie out to dry, especially in the National Lacrosse League. And that, I think, is the biggest issue, which to me is so crazy because I've never seen a Tracy Kelusky offense struggle as much as it has, especially this year. I mean, look back when he was the head coach of Panther City. That team, nobody really knew what to expect those first couple years. Playoff teams, both years. It's one of those things that I just don't know what goes on in the coaching preparation. And, don't get me wrong. I think Ian Rubel's a nice guy. I was kind of surprised he got the job when Paul Day stepped down. And I don't know if being a head coach is for him. I think he's a great defensive-minded coach. And now he has the defensive tools to, work with. But I don't know what is going in on the offensive side of things. I don't know if Rubes is involved in that game plan. I know TK is kind of like the assistant head coach too. He has that role, but it is a head scratcher to me that we have seen a Tracy Kelusky led offense struggle this mightily, especially with the talent that is on this roster, and it's really been a detriment to Nick Damute and this defense because there's no second or third chance effort by the offensive guys, and it allows your opponent to just go down and kind of have their way with your defense when, as the game goes on, and you've seen teams play against the Bandits. If you allow enough opportunities, a dam will crack, and in this instance, a damn you'd will crack, because you can only ask so much. You look at Nick Damude this past game in San Diego, like, he gets credited with a loss. He had 33 saves and gave up less than 10 goals in 34 minutes, and then it's like, oh, we're going to pull the goalie.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me, some of the decision-making, and I think a lot of it just circles back to this offense is broken.
You are officially the second Philly sports fan that we've had on this show, so I have to ask, what were your thoughts? And you already said about the OC, so I think I know where this is going, but what were your thoughts on the Eagles season last year, and where do you think they go with Sirianni still as the lead man?
I will say this, Super Bowl champions forever, banners hang forever, so you can never take...
I just want to be alive when the Bills make one, so...
Yes. This year was... It was hard to watch. It was hard to be a fan this year, because not only was the offense littered with so much talent, so like elementary, and elementary is almost too nice. Just the unnecessary drama that just kept leaking, and the constant comparisons to 2023, and it was just such a grind. It felt like I was doing homework every week watching the Eagles play football. And I think now that Kevin Petula is gone, the big gut scary man is gone, this team is going to be fine. Like, you don't go from winning a Super Bowl in the fashion that you won the Super Bowl, and even prior to that, winning the NFC Championship game the way that you won that game, and the way that you won a multitude of games in 2024, to then that just disappearing overnight. There's one common denominator. You look at, like, I do play-by-play for high school football. There's degrees to football, though. I should not every week be sitting on my couch knowing what play call is coming from my favorite NFL team, sitting on my couch and being able to call it out, and then my parents turn to me and being like, how did you know that was happening? I was like, well, they have this guy lined up on the right side, and anytime he's lined up on the right side, they're going to run the football. It was so mind-numbingly stupid on offense this year, and I think now that you actually have some creativity in the building, I love the Sean Mannion hire. I love that they hired Josh Grizzard from the Buccaneers to kind of, those two be like Batman and Robin together. Somebody posted the Eagles ran like over 600 hitch routes this year, which was by far and away the first, like, number one in the NFL. The Packers ran like 319 less hitch routes, which was 31st in the NFL. And I was like, oh, this is progress in and of itself. And then you look at like Josh Grizzard's route concepts that he ran with the Buccaneers, and I was like doing backflips, because I was like, this is like creativity that we have been yearning for forever, because you're seeing crossing routes over the middle. You're seeing, go routes coupled with somebody kind of running a crossing route across the middle underneath, and giving your quarterback options. And, don't get me wrong, I love your guy, Josh Allen. People need to start putting some respect on Jalen Hurts a lot more than they do, because Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts do a lot of the same things. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts throws the football the way that Josh Allen does, but hey, Jalen Hurts didn't just run some clock. He threw that dagger in the Super Bowl and made a lot of people look silly with that. It's not that Jalen Hurts is incapable of throwing the football. We just don't let him. And I don't know why, and I hope Sean Mannion and Josh Grizzard let him throw the football, because when you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and right now on paper Dallas Goedert, who knows what happens in free agency, and then Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts should be able to throw the football a whole hell of a lot more than he has.
Bandits versus Wings, Saturday night. Two teams that desperately need a win, both on the outside of the playoffs looking in. What kind of game are you expecting for everybody to see on Saturday night?
I think the Wings defense will show up the way that they have. It's going to be one of those games that if the Wings want to win, they're going to have to score. And, I don't know. I'll flip this on you. How are you feeling right now defensively for your Bandits? Because I know there's been, a couple, cracks in the armor there this season. Some games have kind of slipped away from you guys. Matt Vince has shown a little bit that he's actually human. Where do you feel with the Bandits' defense right now? Not necessarily the offense, because Dane and Josh are going to do Dane and Josh things. Where do you feel on this defense right now? Especially, a couple injuries still. Obviously, Mitch is injured and everything, but where are you guys sitting defensively with this Bandits team right now?
So besides the blip this last weekend versus Colorado, I thought their last 6.5 quarters were pretty solid. These last 3 games to me have fallen completely like Philly on the offense. Like they just don't seem like they're in rhythm. They seem like I thought they were going to use this last bye week to figure out what had the same 7 guys, because to start the season they had mixed offense the whole time. I feel like they have to make a move. I don't think that the current offense they have is good enough to make enough noise in the playoffs to make another finals run. I'm perfectly fine being wrong. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but I'm much more concerned about what we've seen from the offense, because it's 3 straight weeks of the same stuff, than I am about one blip on defense. You're going to get one of your best defenders back in a week or two. I believe that's what Chugger said in the pregame. So I'm not as worried about the defense. I think that was a blip. I'm terrified of the offense right now. That's the one area, and I never thought I would say that over a Buffalo Bandits team.
Yeah, it is interesting where it's like, you lose Chase and Kluch in free agency, and Josh and Dane are one of the best duos to ever do it in the NLL, and they're going to get theirs, but now I feel like there's a lot more responsibility and pressure on guys like Tahoka, on guys like Bucky, to step up and fill those shoes. And when that depth is gone, like who's going to be the guy? And more often than not, you guys haven't had that person really step up this year to complement what Josh and Dane do on a week in and week out basis.
Yeah, at least consistency. Like Bucky stepped up in a handful of games, but he's not that type of player. He's more of that water bug out there. Nanakoke stepped up. I thought his in Colorado, I thought that was his best game of the season. McKay has kind of looked the shell of himself since he was last year. And Benesh, I know he's lost a step, but he kind of looks out of it in this offense as well. So I definitely think they need to they need to make some kind of noise up there. But I guess to transition to the next question here is, what area of Philly's game do you think they might be able to have or even gain the edge over the Bandits in this game on Saturday?
It's going to be interesting. Kind of got caught off guard last week when I saw Nick Rowlett was put on the PUP list. He's been having his best indoor season as a pro, in my opinion. He went 8 for 20 against Trevor Baptiste in Philly. For a player of Nick Rowlett's caliber, where Trevor Baptiste is the unicorn of all unicorns and going to go down as the best faceoff guy to ever do it, to only, go 8 for 20 against him and he goes 12 for 20 against you, that's a win in my book. I don't care if it's not an overall win. That's a win in my book, especially for Nick Rowlett, who's kind of like been working back from injury since his rookie season in the PLO, and it's a bummer to see him go on the PUP list. I'm intrigued to see the matchup of Bo Columbus against Connor Farrell. 2 big, strong guys going at it. It's going to be, 2 like Longhorns like locking together. So that's going to be pretty fascinating to kind of see how that shakes out. That's going to be one of my big things, is what Bo is going to be able to accomplish against Connor Farrell. But then I think a lot of it comes down to the defense for the Wings kind of neutralizing your offensive depth. Like I'm fully expecting Josh and Dane to do their thing. Like I'm not that I'm not worried about them, but like regardless of who's out there, they're going to get theirs. Like that's just a foregone conclusion. It's what can this defense do to stop Tehoka, to stop Kyle Buchanan, to stop Ian McKay. Like, those are the guys that I would much rather the defense focus on than let's try and neutralize Josh and Dane. And then in that process, which it's one of the most impossible things to do, boom, here's Tehoka with a hat trick. It's the same thing that happened in Vegas. Like, you neutralized Chase, Kluch, and Mitch, but then you let Kirsty and Patra go off, and you lose by 3 because Patra scores a second-half hat trick. You have to focus on those depth pieces more so, in my opinion, and allow your defense to flush you into your offense, especially where the Wings are right now. Like, you've got to be able to, like, take calculated shots against a Matt Vince, and I'm sure coming off the game you guys are coming off of against Colorado, like, you guys are going to be, with your heads on fire, especially at home, 19,000 plus, I'm sure going to be in the building. Like, it is the worst possible, like, matchup for the Wings to walk into right now. But for whatever reason, like, even when the Wings lose, I feel like whenever we go to Buffalo, like, we play a pretty competitive game against you guys.
Yeah, all I'll say is I wanted Bo, so treat him well out in Philly. I just got 2 more for you here, though. For the Wings to get the win on Saturday, this needs to happen. What do you think that is?
Ooh. The offense has to get second chance opportunities, and you got to have 4 guys with multiple goals. It can't just be reliant on Brennan and Eric Fennell or Eric Fennell and Joe. Like, Blaze has got to have multiple goals. Michael Sowers has to score multiple goals. Brennan's got to, beat Brennan O'Neill. Eric Fennell's got to do what he's been doing all year. And Joe Resetarits has to, take another step forward this year and really, pop off, right in his backyard and showcase his talents. But it's going to be it's got to be a total team effort on offense if this Wings team wants to win on Saturday. And it's going to come down to, I'm going to say at least 4 guys have to have at least 2 goals apiece.
Last question, and how I end all these ones, it has nothing to do with the sport or the person that I'm interviewing. You get a paperclip. Your job is to hide that paperclip. You get 24 hours to hide the paperclip wherever you want. But after that 24 hours is over, everyone in the world gets 5 hours to search for it. If they can't find it, you get a nice $1 million. If they do find it, I never figured out what exactly happens, but something will happen. Where are you hiding this paperclip? And don't worry, we'll scratch this so when this actually does happen, there won't be any evidence of
okay,
it.
Good.
I won't tell
I was going to say, well, if I tell you, then the world's going to know.
I won't tell on you, and nobody will ever hear this.
First off, I have to say, I've been a guest on a couple of podcasts in my day. Single-handedly the best question I've ever been asked. I love this question. So, where am I going to hide this paperclip? You know what? You'll get a good laugh out of this because you can laugh about it. I'm going to hide it in the trophy case down there in Dallas, Texas, that hasn't been opened in 30 years, and it's probably rusted shut because nobody's opening that thing because the Cowboys aren't winning anything anytime soon. So that paperclip is going in Jerry World's trophy case down there in Dallas at Jerry World.
I love it. The only thing that might get you is if you move any dust, so you got to be real careful to not disturb any of that dust. But otherwise, I love the spot. I don't think anybody's going to find it there. But Kyle, thank you for joining us on the Buffalo Sports Collective. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you, the podcast, and anything else you want to plug for listeners?
Hey, thanks for having me. This was a blast. You guys do a great job, covering Buffalo with the Bandits, just covering Buffalo in general. So keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate
the
it.
sport definitely needs more people like you guys, so keep it up. You guys put in a ton of work, and it's very impressive to watch.
Appreciate it.
You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is my old school AOL Instant Messenger username. It's KBizzle11, but the E is a 3. If I would have known I was doing sports media when I made my Twitter back in 2012. I would have totally chosen a different Twitter handle, but here we are. But it's KBizzle11. The E is just a 3. Outside the Box, new episodes typically every Friday. At OTB LaxPod is the handle for all of our social media there. We cover the National Lacrosse League, Premier Lacrosse League. We're doing the college show now. DJ and Hoots are running that. So during the college season now, we're doing 2 episodes a week, Tuesdays, Fridays, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and we're on YouTube. Our Pro Lacrosse show is on youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. And then the college show episodes on YouTube live on the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod.
Perfect. All right. Thanks again for joining us on the BSC. Hope to talk to you down the road and continued success with literally everything you're doing.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right. We'll be back Friday with our normal episode to preview Bandits versus Wings. We'll talk to you all then.